They think I'm playing on this track right here. Nah. It's a full grown man right here.
No cowards, no excuse, you understand?
You understand? It's an event every time we come through. Commanding General, your honor, and this heavy hitting crew. Real niggas with an attitude. How about you? I repeat, real niggas with an attitude. How about you?
You don't even need them. So just like my name. So this is in essence a empowering video for black women. This ain't a degradation. No. This is showing her how she could really be empowered back to being a woman, and how she don't have to listen to the lies. You don't even need it. So just like my name. So this is in essence a empowering video for black women. This ain't a degradation. No. This is showing her how she could really be empowered back to being a woman, and how she don't have to listen to the lies no more.
It's an event every time we come through. Commanding General, your honor, and this heavy hitting crew. Real niggas with an attitude. How about you? I repeat, real niggas with an attitude. How about you?
And they don't even realize how they've been seduced into that way of thinking. So then in the 70s, that's when, like I said, when everybody could think about what attacked the black men. This is what attacked the black, but nobody ever thinks about why. And then why the black woman start being pushed to the forefront. Because no nation that had to come up ever used their woman to do the fighting for them, or to even be the mouthpiece or front piece for them. We're the only ones that you got to put the woman in the front. Got to put Big Mama got to get her. Big Mama got to get. We're the only nation. And even if you think about the feminist movement from a white woman perspective, all the white woman wanted was a job. She didn't want to replace the white man in the house. She just wanted. All she wanted to do was be a VP maybe, or be stop being a maid. But once she got that job, she had no problem reporting to her man. What they did to the black woman is made it to where not only should she get a job, don't report to the man. You don't even need him. Dang, you don't even need him. So just like my name. So this is in essence a empowering video for black women. This ain't a degradation. No. This is showing her how she could really be empowered back to being a woman, and how she don't have to listen to the lies no more.
It's an event every time we come through. Commanding General, your honor, and this heavy hitting crew. Real niggas with an attitude. How about you? I repeat, real niggas with an attitude. How about you?
So give the lady a hand. Is this loud enough? Can y'all hear? Oh, y'all hear? Okay. All right. I'd like to thank y'all for coming out for this lecture called The Miseducation of the Black Woman. I came up with this lecture, or concept of this lecture, maybe about 3 or 4 months ago, when I started seeing all of the problems really that happens between black men and black women. Because the education that I'm talking about is not saying that everything that a black woman does is wrong, but more so what she's being taught on how to treat a man, her children, her way of life. That's what's miseducating her. And some of it is unknown to her, and it's almost like how the brothers are seduced into doing what they do. Like, we all know what black men do as far as drug dealing, murdering, killing, and that's something that they was taught as well, being miseducated. So I wanted to do this lecture so that women can actually hear men speaking about something other than you ain't nothing, like you're garbage or anything like that, and really get into the root cause of what actually has caused her to be this way, what has broken the divide. Now, for us at Israelite School of PK, we're always going to point to the Bible. We're always going to point to God. We call him Yahweh. Some people may say God or Lord, but either way, if we're not serving him, that's why we're in this confusing state. That's how we got in the condition that we're in, because we forgot to follow the laws that he set forth. Like the education that I'm going to show today is thousands of years old. It's just been lost because we follow this new wave education. This new wave, I don't need a man. This new wave, I don't need a woman. I ain't got to be a father. I ain't got to be a mother. We chose to follow this new wave, and we're the only ones suffering. We're the only community, when you think about it, that even have to have this type of lecture. We're the only community. The white community doesn't have to, the Asian community, the Arab community. We're the only community And we're also the only people that were given that instruction from God. That's why they don't suffer the way they were suffering. So we're going to go through a couple. Can you show me the slide? I'm going to stand up too, but I thought that y'all would feel more comfortable. I'm having a conversation with my family, so I figured I'd have a relaxing environment. My mama came out here, so she ain't want me to say nothing, but my mama came out here. But she's an inspiration to why I did this lecture as well, because she taught me how to forgive my father. She taught me a lot. You know what I mean? If she didn't have to, she could have been like everybody else that has been miseducated. So I'm dedicated to her as well. So now here, this is Genesis, and remember, I said I was going to give like a timeline of history. So some of this stuff I have to teach. Now everybody's not on the level that some are biblically. So this is Genesis, the 3rd chapter. And the reason why I'm showing y'all this is because this tactic, one subject matter of the lecture is the black woman God, right? That's one of the things that I wanted to tackle. And I wanted to educate people to show that that concept of making a woman God is not a new concept. Now, some people may say it's an African culture to call black women gods, but if you're going to accept the African culture of calling black women gods, then you would have to accept the culture where they would sew a baby's clitoris up. That's what they do to young black girls. You would have to also consort with the way that they treat their women and so forth like that. So in Genesis 3:1, it says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Most High God had made. Now a lot of Christians teach that this was a literal snake, but this was not a snake. If you know anything about black people, which is what the Bible was written by black people, you know that we put names on people. So if you run fast, we call you speedy. We might call you big or tall or short. We give you an attribute. We call people that tell on you, what do we call them? We call them rats, or we call them pigs. Not that they're an actual rat or a pig, but it's just the characteristic that carries. So when it says he was more subtle than any beast of the field, meaning this man, which is what there was, he was more slick. He was more diverse. What did the Native Indians call the white man in America? It said he was pale-faced, speak with a forked tongue, meaning he say one thing, but then he would do another. So that's what it's talking about when it talks about the serpent. So he says to the woman. Now, why does the white man today go to the woman first instead of the man? In Luke 3:38, I don't know if you put it in here or not. In Luke 3:38, no, not 3:38. Luke the 3rd chapter says, no man enter into a strong man's house unless he first bind up the strong man. So what has happened in America, what has happened since the garden, is that they strategically will go to the woman to seduce her first, or they'll strategically destroy the man to totally remove him out the house to make the woman more susceptible to whatever destruction he's going to bring to the people. So now, he says unto the woman, as God said, you shall eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the trees of the garden, but the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God said, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest ye die. When it's talking about the trees and the fruits in here, if we're reading a book, right? If you're reading a book today, what do you call that book when you're taking in the information? You call it food for thought, right? Or I have to digest this, right? Because you're learning something. So when it talks about the fruit and the trees, it's talking about something that you're actually digesting and learning. So when she's saying we can eat of every fruit except the one in the midst of the garden, we can learn of these different things, but we can't learn this. We can't learn this information. It's all of that's talking about. So now, verse 4, and the serpent said unto the woman, you shall not surely die. Now, the reason why the serpent said that is because, like, if you're a parent and you have children, you can say, if you do this, this punishment gonna happen to you. Like, I know for me, my mama would say, if you sell drugs, you're gonna go to jail. Now, if I sold that drug and I didn't go to jail, what does that make my mother? To make her lie. Now, if I get locked up 5 years or 2 years or 6 months later, now she's telling the truth, which is the point of what she's saying. So when the Most High is saying, you shall surely die, he wasn't saying in that instance that you die, but he's saying that death is coming around the corner because you're disobeying what I said. Right. It's the same exact thing, all right? So now, when the serpent said to her, you shall not surely die, to that woman, it became attractive, the knowledge that she wanted to learn. Because what happens outside the laws of God? The scriptures say, wide is the gate to destruction, narrow is the right way. So when you go outside the laws of the God, there ain't no rules of what you can eat. There ain't no rules of who you can sleep with, who you can be with. There ain't no rules of what you can celebrate. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. And it becomes enticing when you see everybody having fun. Like that fun, we got to be careful when we accept what is called fun, because we die at the expense of fun. We die when we get high. We die having sex with anybody else that we want to sleep with the same sex and stuff like that. So we have to be careful of that. So he says unto the woman, you shall not surely die. For God both know that in the day that you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. So what did the serpent tell that woman? That she would be a god. And that became enticing to her. So now why is that relevant today? Because all they push to black women is what? That you are a god. And what I find interesting about today's concept of the black woman as God, the minute they say a black woman is God, she is naked. Y'all notice that? Does anybody? Maybe I don't see the conscious community like y'all, but every time I hear them say the black woman is a god, her clothes got to immediately come off. And that's a learned behavior, which we're going to show. Can you give me the next slide, Pastor? Now, them trees and garden, in Isaiah 30:1, it says, woe to the rebellious children that saith to the Lord, take counsel, but not of me. The reason why we're in this condition is because the Lord gave us counsel since before the garden, since Adam. And we've been breaking those laws since Adam. And that's why it says they take counsel, but not of me. And they take a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. Why do you think we're number one in abortion? Why do you think we're number one in the divorce rates, single parent homes, drug use, alcohol use, AIDS, cancer? Because we took a counseling, but not of the Lord's spirit. If you take abortion, which I'll speak about later, in 1973, before the white man legalized it, you couldn't get black women to abort their babies, not in an alarming rate. You can find stories from back in the 1900s and stuff when the white doctors would have to tell black women or try to convince black women to not have the baby. Even if a young black child got pregnant, they would send it down south somewhere, but they would not kill the baby. They would keep the baby alive. But today, you abort your baby. And that's why that's the number one killer of black people. Right. Because we took counsel, but not of the Most High. The Most High said the fruit of the womb is a gift from the Lord. You get that baby in your womb, the Lord wanted you to have that child. That's one thing. What is another thing? One of the major components is the black household, which is also why I did this lecture. The black household united is the strongest thing on the face of the planet. And as we dig into this lecture, I'm going to give you the statistics to show you just how strong the black household was before civil rights, before the 60s, before the 70s. And then we're going to see what was the cause of that problem. 1 Corinthians 11:3 is very important. It gives a set structure for that household. It says, but I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ. Christ is the king of all Israel, over all of them. The Most High is above all. And it says, and the head of the woman is the man. In America, that's a problem. Only for us, though. Only for us is that a problem, because when the black man is in his right state, there is nothing that he won't do for that black house. That's right. There ain't no life he won't give. There ain't no sacrifice he won't make. And for that woman that's with that man, there ain't nothing she won't do for that same household, because she sees that man performing his service and his duty, and so she does the same thing. There ain't nothing more powerful than a family united. Nobody can tell me that. That's why when you go back in the days, you see them parents that had 8 or 9 children. Them 8 or 9 children was together, grew up together. They have morals. Now, if it's 8 or 9 children, if you're lucky, if it's 3 kids, they got 3 different dads. Period. Because we don't have that same structure that we had before. And then the head of Christ is the Most High. That's an order. Now imagine if we just followed that order. We wouldn't be miseducated like we was since the garden. We would now become re-educated. That's the problem amongst our people. I can't speak for everybody, but I know for our people, that's the problem. Give me the next slide. Deuteronomy 28:56. In Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, when you read the first verse, verses 1 through 15, it'll talk about the blessings that will come to the children of Israel. It says if we would keep the commandments, we would be above all nations. We would be on top. That's why we're strategically dominated. Even if you take, we were so-called free from slavery in the late 1800s. By the early 1900s, the white man was in what he called the Great Depression. Meanwhile, we was in our Renaissance, our own Renaissance, meaning we was establishing cities, law firms, doctors, hospitals, everything. Black Wall Street is not the only city that was wealthy. You had cities in Chicago, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., and the white man would see that, and he would say, they 40 years removed from slavery, 40 years. 40 years removed from slavery, and they're able to do this. Imagine what 50 years would be, 60 years, 100 years. Right. The white man would be back in the cave somewhere dying, and we would be ruling. So he strategically made sure he did things, whether it was the Rockefeller, the CIA, which we'll get into. But here it says, the tender and delicate woman among you, which would not as venture to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness. Now that shows you, number one, because they like to say that the Bible is a misogynistic book. I mean, it's not. The Bible says that they had this king asked a question to 3 wise men. And he wanted to know what was the strongest thing on the face of the planet. The strongest thing on the face of the planet is the truth. The second strongest thing is the woman. That's biblical. So if the Bible is a misogynistic book, why would it give a woman that much reverence? It's a misnomer. It's easy. The reason why they say it's misogynistic because the Bible says if you're going to learn from a man. It says Ezekiel 34 and 31, it says the flock of my pasture are men. Now, does that mean that a woman can't teach a man anything? No. Does that mean that a woman can't bring a man to God? No. We're talking about in this type of environment. In this type of environment where we know who we are, who's the teacher, the man is the teacher. Now, that don't mean that they're in a role. We'll show the role of the woman. But when we're talking about that job that the Lord gave, that's for man. Now, it says the tender and delicate woman. In order for it to say the tender and delicate woman, that means men would have to be treating that woman tender and delicate, that she wouldn't touch the sole of her feet. But because we chose to break the commandments, it says her eyes shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter. Does that not fit black women today? Right. Now, this ain't about, sometimes I know a lot of people, when they hear us talking, they can't understand if we're talking badly. Azania, hold on 1 second. Can you take that? They don't know if we're speaking about, because they usually hear us speaking and we're loud, because they say, oh, you're always loud, and you're talking, and you're boisterous and stuff like that. But if you actually took the time to what we're saying, this is a warning from the Lord. Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, is a warning, just like any parent would give their child the pitfalls of what will befall you. If you get good grades, if you keep your house clean, I'll get this. But if you break them, this is what's going to happen. But this has happened to black women. Black women have become evil to their husbands, evil to their sons, and evil to their daughters. When you kick your man out the house, you're being evil to the whole entire household. Right. When you abort your babies, that's murder. You cannot justify killing your child, and you can't say that there ain't no life in there, because in order for the sperm to travel, the sperm has to be allowed to even travel to the womb. And then when it cracks the egg, it's growing. And how do you know that it's murder? Kill a pregnant woman. I'm not telling anybody to go do it, of course. But if you actually want to kill or murder a pregnant woman, they charge you with 2 murders. Right. When Ray Caruth killed that woman, they charged her with murder of her. And I don't think the child passed, but if he would have died, they would have charged him with that body too, because they know that the life is in the womb. You understand? So this is a warning for what's going to happen to black women. Give me the next slide. Now, this is something I want you to pay attention to, because we're going to be talking about slaves and stuff like this. This is an article that I found. You can play it. It's going to be self-explanatory. Can you play it? There you go, it's playing.
We already know that this is a gene that contributes to risk for depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. When we looked at their own children also had an epigenetic change in the same spot on a stress-related gene. We're talking about multiple traumas for hundreds of years. Not only are you traumatized directly, you're seeing your friends, your cousins, and everyone in your environment being beaten, sold away from family, raped, mutilated. All those things that were happening, and eventually, of course, lynched. But looking at those traumas, is it plausible that those people escaped stress-related illness? Not plausible.
Now, because white supremacy is like black people all there. So it's the next slide. Now, what they were saying, and this is Dr. Rachel Yehuda, professor of psychiatry at Ian School of Medicine at Mount Sinai. Now, the only reason they came up with this is because they was talking about the Holocaust. I really don't care about white people dying.
Right.
But that's the only reason they even cared to bother looking this up. So now it says they conducted a depth of research into the epigenetics and integration of transmission of trauma. Now nobody's been more traumatized than black people.
Right.
When I'm saying black, I'm talking about my Hispanic brothers as well because they went to slavery over here first.
Right.
So now it says, in layman's terms, she is researching how serious instances of trauma, i.e. slavery, and post-traumatic stress disorder can be passed down through generations in shared family genes. Meaning the psychological trauma, like she said, of seeing your brother get killed, having a wife and seeing her raped, having a wife not only seeing her raped, but that she produces your child, that child being taken away from you. Now imagine that happening for hundreds of years. And not only you seeing it, but now your son is seeing it. Now your son's son is seeing it. Your daughters are seeing it. They're saying that passes down into your DNA, which is why slavery is something that we always have to deal with it, and we should not tolerate anybody trying to brush that under the rug. 9/11, only 3,000 people died in 9/11. They never let that go. And we should never let slavery go. Every time they talk about the Holocaust, anybody talk negative about the Holocaust, that Jewish man will hunt you down for that. But because we disrespect our ancestors, everybody is allowed to disrespect. Say again? Oh, okay. Because we disrespect our ancestors, everybody else is now allowed to disrespect our ancestors. And we have to learn to have a little bit more honor, a little bit more integrity for what's happened to our ancestors. So it says her research has revealed that when people experience trauma, it changes their genes in a very specific and noticeable way. So when those people have children, their genes are passed down to their children also inherit it. The abject horrors and brutality suffered by slaves are more likely to have the same effect on the black slavery descendants today. And it ain't just the physical trauma, it's also our nakedness. What I mean by nakedness, I'm talking about the desire for men to make our women get naked. That's the most disgusting thing you could ever do. Your woman's nakedness should be your woman's nakedness, not be mine. I should not see a woman's nakedness on any level. Just like a woman shouldn't see my nakedness if she's not my woman. But we were taught that in slavery. We're going to show it. Give me the next slide. Enslaved women were forced to have sex with their owners, but their masters considered this a favor. White men claimed that they were doing black women a favor. The white man is so diabolical. That's not my subject, though. I could spend all day talking about that. That's not my subject. They said they doing black women a favor by raping them. I don't understand how you doing anybody a favor by raping them. It's the most horrific thing you could ever do. It says, by saving them from having sex with black men. Now you see the agenda starting to build up. White men were saying they were doing them a favor by saving them from having sex with black men who were considered to be animalistic and brutal. To show you how pale-faced and fork-tongued he is, he's raping the woman, but he's saying that the brother is being animalistic and cruel. When rape is what's animalistic and cruel.
Right.
But the psychology that he's giving the black woman is what's seducing her. So it says enslaved women were not just considered tools to get work done, they were also considered cattle capable of producing more tools for work. The black man's struggle was hard. The black woman's struggle was just as hard, if not a little bit harder, and I'll tell you why. Imagine getting raped all day, getting pregnant, having that child, and then still having to do the same work that the man has to do at the same time. Imagine having to go pick cotton and then come home and get raped. And then as you pregnant, the white man that raped you and got you pregnant don't care. He still wants you to go out there and pick cotton and do whatever slave duties you had to do. That's why it says enslaved women were not just considered tools to get work done. They were considered as cattle. Like, we have to understand, like, the black man and black woman, if anything, they should forgive each other as a nation. Like, whatever the black woman did to the black man should let it go. And the same thing for the black woman to the black man. That's the only way we can begin to heal each other. And then the sad part about it, everybody gonna say they love God, but nobody's seen God. The scriptures say, how can you love the Most High who you've not seen, but not love your brother or sister who you see every day? And that's the problem that we face in this community. We'll fight each other all day, not realizing the enemy that put that tool in the middle for us to fight each other. Them tools that's in there, that system that we got to get rid of, is what we brought out earlier in Isaiah 30. Instead of covering ourselves with the Lord's Spirit, we covered ourselves with another nation's spirit that was never meant for us. And how could your enemy ever be your friend? The white man come over here and rape and rob you and kill you for 400 years, and you think that just changed? He beat you for 400 years. How can that change in that short amount of time? So it says cruel masters will purposely get enslaved women pregnant so they can have more workers. Like, that's their child that they put into that black woman, but they don't even see that as their child. They see that as cattle, more produce. So now the woman gives birth to that baby, and she knows this baby that's inside her, she'll never enjoy it. That's the oppression that black women have suffered. That's why I said it's not their fault. If anybody watched my interviews, I've said it's damn near not the black woman's fault psychologically. It's in her DNA. So now we have to give her some information that removes that DNA from her. But if we're going to constantly charge and berate her all the time, she'll always live that lie. She'll never say, well, let me listen to this brother. If all we're saying is you ain't shit, excuse my language, if that's all we're saying, she'll never take the time to listen to what we're saying. All right? It says if they ever resisted any intimate advance, they might be subjected to incredibly harsh punishments, such as beatings or rapes. Give me the next slide. A certain group of enslaved women were deemed Jezebels by their owners. Again, this is the white man's wording. These women were assumed to be even more promiscuous than the other enslaved black women. Like they said, these black women, they like when we rape them, but these ones really wanted to have sex with us. So they put a Jezebel term on the black woman. Black women were often subjected to sexual abuse multiple times throughout the day. White men forced these Jezebels to have sex with them and insisted that it's the enslaved women's fault. Now, if you notice, in the beginning, and I got this from an article, in the beginning, they would say that they were saving them from being with the animalistic black man. Now, when they want to make them whores, they say it's their fault because they're promiscuous. Again, pale face speaking with a forked tongue. You'll see the theme. Give me the next slide. The theme for today will be the white man is the devil. That's right. That's the theme for the day. That's right. The white man is the goddamn devil, and all devil means is deceiver. Meaning he say one thing, but he means something else. Right. You ever want to know if he's right? When he say something, just believe the opposite. More than likely, you'll be fine. The sexual exploitation of enslaved women has led to the creation of Jezebel stereotypes in mainstream media. Y'all think it's an anomaly that only the black women are looked at as whores on every media you can think of? Hip-hop music, artwork, whatever it is, the black woman is the one that's naked. And that's murder too. It says the sexual exploitation of black women is not a thing of the past. They are often sexually exploited. Mainstream, many describe hip-hop stars like Nicki Minaj and Lil Kim. And one thing that I did not do, I do have some pictures on here, but I'm not going to get too graphic with any imagery, because I think the black woman has been used up enough, don't y'all? So I don't think I need to display that today. I think my wording should be enough. I think we've seen enough TV, right? Right. I appreciate it. It says these over-sexualized perceptions of black women are embraced and perpetuated through mainstream media today. So now I put two scriptures up, and then I'm going to speak on it. It says, the whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks in her eyelids. And Deuteronomy 23:17 says, there shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel. So now again, how do you educate it? Imagine if we all follow what the Lord said, that there should be no whore of the daughters of Israel. The daughter of our black women, we shouldn't raise them up to dress in provocative clothing, to dress with their ass, with their behind showing on. I'm trying not to cuss out here, with their behind showing all day, with their butt out. And then brothers shouldn't lust after women like that, because when you lust after women, you're not disencouraging them, you're encouraging them. There's be plenty of times me and my brothers would be standing outside and a woman in some scantily clad clothing will walk past, and we wouldn't even give her the attention that that demon on her is seeking, because we're trying to battle that demon. Now imagine if we didn't give them that attention, then they would stop dressing like that. The only reason they're dressing like whores is because we entertain whores. When men stop loving whores, black women will stop being whores. Give it the next slide. That's real talk. Now, after when you look at that, this is Sarah Bartman. Now, I didn't want to get her actual image. This is a clay drawing. This is Sarah Bartman, one of the first black women that they put on a showpiece as a slave auction. And what are they showing her naked? Now, this is just the artwork of it, but they literally had her up there. And then when you look at it now, this is Nicki Minaj this month. And what do they have her? Naked as well. This white woman, because Amber Rose is not black. Well, y'all want to like Amber Rose, that's a devil. Right. And the devil created strippers have feelings too, to encourage black women to be strippers. This is what slavery taught us. And we accept it because it's in our DNA, and we think we're not better than that. That's why calling a black woman a god and by making her get naked, you're doing nothing more than what your slave master taught you. Right. That ain't no new science that you thought up where you said, I'm gonna come up with this black woman as God concept. The white man beat you to it a long time ago. Give me the next slide. This is what the black woman learned from slavery. This is what taught her. It says the American brand of slavery strove toward a rigid disorganization in family life to permanently destroy all potential social structures within black people might forge a collective conscious existence. Imagine if we came over here in slavery, but we was able to retain our knowledge, our information, our culture. At some point, we would stop being slaves. Like the biggest battle we have is that they take the chains off, but we still accept everything that they spoon feed us. And when we talk about the feminist movement, we talk about Trump, we still accept everything that they spoon feed us, and we think stuff like civil rights fixed us when civil rights destroyed us. And we keep going. Children, when they became of age, were branded and frequently severed from their mothers. The mother was the only legitimate parent of her child because they would take the father out of the way. And it says, did not therefore mean that she was even permitted to guide it to maturity. Meaning black women was taking care of kids, we all know that. But half the kids wasn't even theirs that they was taking care of. It'd be somebody else's kids. It'd be the white man's kids. It'd be the white woman's kids. But it would not be her kids. That's why calling a black woman a matriarch, in some cases, is kind of disrespectful. Only because she's had to do it under the worst conditions known to man. She's had to take care of that child, get a back beat, get raped, suffer problems. She had to suffer all kinds of things if it ever went wrong. All right? Deuteronomy 28:32. It says, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand. This was given to the children of Israel as a curse. So now everybody wonders why we can't get out this condition. Is because we're not going to the one that told us about this curse. Instead of, like, but here's what I mean. The Most High gave us blessings and he gave us curses. And he gave a criteria to achieve both. Now, we're running to the white man, to the Arab religion, to African religion to escape from what the Lord did to us. The only way that we can get out of this condition is to find out what we did wrong to the Most High. We ain't did nothing wrong to the white man. What we did wrong to him? Nothing. We ain't do nothing wrong to no Arab. We ain't do nothing wrong to no African. We offended God the moment we decided to become Christians, Muslims, Methodists, Baptists, whatever you want to call it, atheists, Kemet. The minute we decided that that was better than this is why this happened to us. Right. That's the education. Keep going. It says, were black women ever taken seriously? We're going to get into the feminist movement. Because again, this feminist movement, I keep hearing, I had a sister tell me that there were two feminist movements. There was a black feminist movement, black woman feminist movement, and then a white woman feminist movement. And all the research that I find and looking at all these different black women before the white women came involved, they were never feminists. Feminist would mean that you're separating yourself from the man. When I look up Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth and other people like that, they was working with brothers. It wasn't trying to disrupt the black household. They was trying to give power or resurrect the black household. So it doesn't apply. So it says the Combahee River Collective argued in 1974 that the liberation of black women entails freedom for all people. Y'all ever notice that with black people? Anytime we got to get liberated or free or anything like that, it has to include everybody. We're the only people that everybody got to be a part of. When a white man, when a Jewish man wanted to get free, they didn't bring not one German with them. Did any Germans come over to? Well, they all German. Technically, they all Germans. But for this purpose, the Jewish man, when he came into Israel, when they divided that land in half, they didn't bring the Germans with them. The Jewish man won't even buy a German car because he hates the Germans for what they did to him. And when it comes to black women, it had to be freedom for all people, since it would require the end of racism, sexism, and class oppression. So for a black woman to be liberated, which I don't even know what that means, other than being liberated from a white man, I don't even know what being liberated means, which I'll explain why I'll say in a second. But in order for her to get respected, it would have to be freedom for all. That doesn't even make her special. When the black man, when we go through it, when you think about a black man defending his household, he's defending his household because that household is special. You're going to go to an organization to get free, but they're telling you the only way we can do it for you is if we do it for everybody. You're not special no more. Right. It says during the first wave, different accounts of the involvement of African-American women in the women's suffrage movement are given. In 1974, Alice Paul, a devil, notes that a compromise was made. Now, the black woman going to the white man to get liberated, and here was the compromise. It said a compromise was made between Southern groups to have white women march first, because they're the most important, then the men, the white men, and then the black women. So even when they going to get so-called free, they had to go third. When a black man would put his woman first, why do you think we go to war? We ain't going to war just for ourselves. We going to war for our family. But when you get educated by a devil, this is what you'll be taught. Give me the next slide. Who do you think funded the feminist movement? You got to go back as far as the Rockefellers funded the women's liberation and provided all the media coverage. So all this sexual exploitation, all of these movies that you see, like The Colored Purple, For Colored Girls, Wait to Exhale, New Jack City, all of these movies controlled by them. Controlled by them. And for the sole purpose, when you think about these movies, and I know I'm probably going to jump the gun kind of down, but when you think about some of these movies, I'll just use one. For Colored Girls, what were the black men in For Colored Girls? You had a rapist, you had a homosexual who got AIDS, you had a woman beater, and a child molester. Those are the four men that they put on the forefront. Now, do those men exist in the black community? Yes, they do. Not saying that they don't. But do you see movies where a black man is actually taking care of the family, building up the family, fight? Do you see movies where the black household is together? The closest we got, the most realest TV show black people ever had was what? Who knows?
Black.
No, that's new. Rock was good too, but give me Good Times. Good Times. Good Times was the realest black show ever. Just imagine, Good Times came out in the 70s. Everybody in the projects in the 70s. And who did you have? You had James. And James would do whatever it took for Florida Evans, for JJ, all of them. He never let no intruders come in. He protected his women, his children, and his kids, and they killed them. Why did they kill them? Because what would black people see? Black men would see that's having that same struggle in the projects. They would be able to watch Good Times and get a little bit of inspiration to say, okay, if James did it, maybe I could do it like that. They kill him, And then after that, you just got a black woman in the house. And then when they did blame black men, they was goofy as hell because they showed no leadership anymore. And then the only other one you got was maybe the Cosby Show, but that's not realistic for black people. There's not a lot of black doctors and lawyers that's married together at all. So now it became an unrealistic approach. Imagine if we would have stayed that way. You would thank the Rockefellers for that. Hugh Hefner supported. Hugh Hefner, this bugged me out when I found out Hugh Hefner supported it. But then it made sense though. It made sense. It said Hugh Hefner supported your reproductive rights, meaning the right to kill your baby, and the feminist wave of lesbianism. Now, why wouldn't Hugh Hefner support that? He's a porn director. So he needs his women killing their babies so they can keep being porno stars, and he needs them to be lesbians so he can have threesomes and so forth. The CIA funded the Miss Magazine, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, inventing the second wave, the eugenics movement. Anybody don't know, I'm pretty sure everybody should know the eugenics movement. Margaret Sanger was a detriment to black people. Your Planned Parenthood and all that comes from people like Margaret Sanger and the black people that supported Margaret Sanger. Because Margaret Sanger said a great statement. She said that we can't be the face of Planned Parenthood. The preacher and the nurse has to be the face of Planned Parenthood, because if it gets out that we're trying to exterminate them from our voice, they're not going to pay attention to it. But if this pastor says it, then we'll do it. That's why in New York City, they put that billboard sign up there. They said the most dangerous place for a black woman, for a black child, is in the mother's stomach. And then they put the abortion statistics under that. Now, that's education, real talk, because black women would have to face the role that they played in our murder. You know who made them take it down? Who knows? Roger?
Al Sharpton.
Al Sharpton, a pastor. Al Sharpton came and said, although I'm a pastor and I know it's against the Bible, I cannot affect a woman's right to choose. When I think a woman's right to choose is who she decides to lay down with. If you lay down with that man, number one, that should be the last man you lay with. And if you get pregnant, you have to have the baby. Did you shrink that down, son? So, the eugenics movement in America, since then we have had more black babies aborted than all other deaths combined. Feel that for a second. Okay. All black deaths combined. So if you take AIDS, murder, cancer, drugs, heart attacks, black on black crime, drug overdoses, and combine them, abortion is still over all of that combined. Now, why would we stop talking about this? Why would they stop talking about it? Because this is their plan. When you do the research, just do the research. Before 1973, look at the abortion numbers, and you won't find hardly any that measures any to what the abortion numbers are today. And they made abortion so popular amongst black women that they boast about. I see memes. I didn't want to put all this on here, but I see memes where women say they taking pictures at the abortion clinic. They boasted in that. Give me the next slide. Oh, this is my girl here. Shahrazad Ali. I don't know if anybody knows of her, but I love this one here. All right? Just play this clip for me, please.
White Women's Liberation Movement, we don't have anything to do with that.
The first thing she said was the White Women's Liberation Movement, we don't have nothing to do with that. Let me expound it. We ain't got nothing to do with none of white folks' business.
That's right.
Their voting system, their liberation, their military, none of that. Until we can get our own. Until we can get our own. We can never go to the table with the white man because we don't have no power. Keep playing.
We've not been under the control of the black man for
Can you bring it back to the beginning?
500 years. So what?
Slide and come back. If you can't, that's fine. Okay, play it.
White Women's Liberation Movement, we don't have anything to do with that. We have not been under the control of the black man for over 500 years. So what do we have to get liberated from them from?
Stop. Oh, you smart. She said, we have not been under the control of the black man for 500 years. So what actually are black women trying to get liberated from? I made sure to put her in this because if I said it, y'all might get mad. But if a black woman said, maybe y'all listen to the black woman. Huh? Not enough though. Not enough. Just let me finish. Wow, I appreciate it. So now, when she's saying that we have not been under the control of the black man, that's a real statement. When you think about the liberation movement, It was one of the most heinous acts that the white woman has ever done to the black woman. Now I'm gonna tell you something. White women hate black people more than the white men, and y'all don't even realize it. Anybody seen that movie Get Out? If you didn't, I'm about to spoil it real fast. I'm about to spoil it. Anybody see that movie Get Out? Okay. Y'all know the sunken zone, right? Sunken zone. Do y'all know when the sunken zone actually took place? Who knows?
He got with that devil.
When he got with the white woman. In the beginning of the movie, when you seen that brother, that's why Marcus Garvey's wife, when she, because like I said, as I was doing the research on it, Marcus Garvey's wife, who supported Marcus Garvey put her in a good position. She said that the issue she got with the brothers is their love for white women. And black men, y'all got to stop dealing with them goddamn white women.
That's right.
But in that movie, they called the sunken zone when she made the tea and did the whole circling with the cup. That wasn't the sunken zone when she met with the white woman. And the best part of that movie, to me, was when that white woman couldn't find the keys. That was the best part of the movie. Because just think about, prior to that, every time he was feeling some type of way, she was comforting him, she was consoling him, giving him all the notion that little Becky loved him to death. Until he realized, they trying to kill me up in here. I didn't believe it. Then she couldn't find the keys. I can't find the keys. I can't find it. And then, when he fights the brother and he about to leave, she says, you know I can't give you the keys. Revealing herself to that brother. And black men need to pay attention to that. All these white women are set up to destroy you.
That's right.
One white woman, like, I don't care how cute and loving, and then after they got him in the dungeon, what's she doing? She online looking for the next Negro she gonna find to bring to the house.
Right.
That's the lesson to learn from Get Out. That sunken zone was the T. The sunken zone was when he was dealing with that devil. Right. Play the rest of the clip.
They haven't been our boss. That's the white woman and her man. They're going through that, and that's their business. We don't have any business being in there. They only introduced it to break down the civil rights movement.
Right.
Civil rights movement started with the black man, black woman, and the black child standing together, trying to plead for freedom, justice, and equality, and more benefits in the country that they had to have built. They threw the white woman in there with the women's liberation movement and made it a woman against man thing. That created a big separation between black men and black women, because then everybody started going for self.
You see what she said? That created a great divide because everybody started going for self. And since the white woman got her paws on that black woman, all the black man and black woman have been doing is fighting each other. That's it. Even if they got kids together. They got kids together, she'll kick him out the house, call 911, he may beat her or do something like that. We've been fighting each other since the white woman has involved herself. And she hates black women. I'm gonna tell you why. Why the white woman wanted to get liberated? When slavery was over, who was doing all the cooking and cleaning and had to take care of the kids anymore after that? Who did? White woman realized, I love slavery. I love it. Because Mammy was in my house all day. You mean I got to wash all these clothes now? I got to cook this? I never had. Now, just remember, she said 500 years. That's slavery. 400 or 500 years. So 400 or 500 years, the white woman sitting on her ass. What was she doing all day? She ain't doing the cooking and cleaning or nothing. Even the white man would be doing some form of work, whether it was overseer or trying to conquer or something like that. The white woman was doing nothing. She was living in her pleasure. And now slavery is over. The black woman is gone and nobody can clean up. So how can she bring the black woman back? I convince her to hate a man. And that's what she did to black women. That is the miseducation that has happened to black women with that liberation. Keep playing.
Then they bring the welfare system in and tell us in order to feed and clothe and house our children, we have to give up our man. You have to put the man out of the house. When the white farm wife goes to the government for subsidy for the farm, they don't tell her to get rid of the farm, and they keep that family together. But in the black community, they make it a requirement because they want to keep endorsing into the black community that the black man is no good and that he is not deserving of respect. He is not deserving of us letting him give us any protection or instruction, and that we are better than them.
You tell me that is not 2017?
Right.
In 2017, this is not what they push on us. We have to open up our concept of thinking. Like Shahrazad Ali is not the only sister that has said this, like the sister pointed out. But it ain't enough. It ain't big enough. It ain't pushed enough to where black women can start forgiving their man, for black men to start forgiving their woman, which is what's needed in order for this community to heal themselves from the atrocities that have happened to them. Next slide. Oh, I put this picture up because who they now part of the feminist movement. One of the great ones was who the Black Fist girl? What's his broad's name? Y'all knew everybody knew her name. Black Fist, Black Power, and the Black Dyke. You understand? Black Dyke. With a white one. That's Gloria Steinem and that's Angela Davis. So even though Angela Davis put a fist up, she's licking a box. How does that fix the black household? That's right. I mean, life is life. Yeah, I'm not surprised. That's what I said. White with a white woman. Right. That's what I said. Yeah, she had a white wife. She had a white, yeah. But she Black Power. She Black Power. When we talk about this devil here, look, don't she look like Satan? When we talk about this devil here, any black Gloria Steinem, any black woman that has worked with her is a sellout to black people. That's right. I don't care who it is. Because she was set up by the CIA to specifically destroy the black infrastructure. Not just the black woman, the whole entire black infrastructure. So now, this guy here, she was into lesbianism and Black Power. Well, let's find out if lesbianism will actually help the women's rights or will it destroy it? Next slide. In essence, lesbian feminists try to untie lesbianism from sex because lesbians try to be men, which I don't understand. That's a mental defect. That's not natural for a man to want a man or a woman to want a woman. That's not natural. It says they still had to find effective ways to address the accusation that their masculinity, women trying to be men, was somehow complicit with the men in patriarchy. Lesbian feminists responded by distancing themselves from stereotypes of masculine roles, maleness, and patriarchy. One way they were able to do that was to disentangle lesbian sexuality from heterosexuality and reconceptualizing heterosex as consorting with the enemy. So what were they trying to now tell you? If you even dealt with a man, you was a traitor to all womankind. That's what they were trying, and they were trying to make, damn near when we get to the bottom of it, like if you're not a lesbian, you're not a feminist, and you're not a liberal. But they're about all women. This is what they're saying they're about, but they're not about it. It says they capitalize on dominant assumptions regarding female sexuality, including ideas of women's romantic and nurturing sexuality versus men's aggressive sexuality. That don't even make no sense to me. Because a man is supposed to be aggressive with his woman. Most women are aggressive with their man. That's how it's supposed to go. It ain't supposed to be soft. I'm trying not to be too vocal. My mom. Then they were able to draw a distinction between lesbian sex and heterosexual sex, claiming that lesbian sex was pure as snow because it did not involve men. But lesbians have children though. And when they want to have a baby, where do they got to go to get the baby? No, not, well, that's okay, that's foster care they want to adopt. Right. But if they actually want to have a baby, they have to see a man. Yeah. They were then able to draw a distinction. I'm sorry. The males seek to conquer through sex, while the female seeks to communicate. Here's the heavy part. Lesbians carry dildos. Right. They carry dildos. They walk around. I think the young mob broad just got pulled over at the airport in Jamaica because they thought that dildo was a gun. I mean, how big was the gun? I'm sorry. How big was it? Now, why she carry the dildo? Let me tell you why lesbians carry that dildo. Because a woman naturally wants a man inside of her. That's right. That's right. Want another woman inside of her. And that lesbian knows if she don't put something inside of her, she will find something to put inside of her. That's about as old as I can get. That's good, man. Give me the next slide. Using this ideology, lesbians successfully build lesbian as the ultimate form of feminism, a practice that does not involve men on any emotional level. In this way, heterosexual feminists were seen as inferior because of their continued association with men. Meaning the liberation movement was supposed to be on the premise, was supposed to be about them just getting a better job or something like that, or being respected. But what they ended up turning into, they wanted to be something that totally removed men out of the equation. And there's only one race of people that I see that affecting the most, that's us. Because whether they're lesbians or not, they removed the black man out of the equation. I'm gonna give you an example. That next slide. Oh, hey, these are, I don't want to put too many of them. But Romans 1:25, it says, "Who changed the truth of God into a lie and worship the creature more than the creator?" Lesbians swear they be Christians and love God and all that. But if you're a lesbian, then you turn the truth of God into a lie. Right. And in America, they made homosexuality, they teaching it in the schools now. They teach homosexuality of all sorts to children, as if children need to learn that. Right. And then the heavy part, you can't even say that you're born that way. Because if you're going to say that you're born that way, if somebody murdering, you should be able to say, "I was born that way." Right. And you shouldn't do nothing about it. The fact that it was classified as a disease and then changed tells you that there's something psychologically wrong. It says, "For this cause, God gave them up unto vile affections. But even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature." It is against nature for you to be with another woman. Not none of y'all in here, so that you ain't applying to y'all. Give me the next slide. I'm gonna give y'all an example. Now remember, the WNBA is supposed to be about feminists. We got next. Slide here. We got next. The WNBA. Former Stanford star Candace Wiggins. I was bullied in the NBA because she was straight. Now, they started the the WNBA, because they couldn't play with the men. So they said, we're going to create our own league for our women. And instead, they changed it into a lesbian organization. She said, me being a hero, this is a basketball player. She was nice as hell at UConn. She was a real good basketball player, and she wanted to keep playing, but she couldn't. And she said, me being a heterosexual and straight and being vocal in my identity as a straight woman was huge. It was important to her. And I wonder if it was important to her is because she knew when she was going into the WNBA how much lesbianism was running rampant. So she needed that to be important, not just to her, but to the people that thought, this is going to be the next box I'm going to leave. This is going to be the next woman I'm going to leave. So now, as a heterosexual, I felt like the 2% versus the 98%. This is the WNBA. And she said it felt that way to me. And it's not just the players, it was the coaches and the leaders pushing this lesbian agenda. And we get affected because the WNBA is dominated by black women. So now they're turning all of us lesbian. And what does that stunt? If all our women are lesbians, that stunts black people from growing as a nation, which is the ultimate goal of America, to stop us from growing as a nation. It says, I wanted to play 2 more seasons, but the experience didn't lend itself to my mental state. It was the depressing state. It can be quite hard. I didn't like the culture inside the WNBA, and without revealing too much, it was toxic for me. My spirit was being broken. That's what was happening to a woman in a so-called organization that's for women. And they beat her down for only wanting to be with a man. A black woman wanting to be with a man. That's damn near an endangered species. We usually say the most endangered species on the face of the planet is a black man, but a black woman and a man is also endangered too, because you rarely see that together. Right. We need to bring it back. Keep going to the next slide. Oh, this is Gloria Steinem again. She wasn't old as hell now. This is Gloria Steinem, another black fifth sister, Dorothy. This is what we're going to talk about, Gloria Steinem being the face of the feminist movement. Now we're going to talk about her specifically and what was her role in destroying black women and destroying the black household. Gloria Steinem first came across the radar of black men in 1978. And Steinem put a book called The Black Macho and the Myth of the Superwoman on the cover of Miss Magazine. Miss Magazine was totally funded by the CIA and created by the CIA. Right. At one point, Gloria Steinem, you know how in most magazines you'll see, not commercials, but you'll see ads in the magazines? Miss Magazine did not have to have any ads. because the ads in the magazine would provide funding for the magazine to be produced. But because the CIA was paying for everything up front, she didn't need no funding. She didn't need no ads. So her magazines was ad-free. And it says, the book was written by a black feminist and activist named Michelle Wallace. It came out of nowhere because she was only 21 years old. And she wrote this book called The Black Macho and the Myth of the Superwoman. Wallace was in her early 20s at the time, yet she was being touted as a leader of black feminism. Who was she being touted by? The so-called white man. When y'all see the white man parade a brother or a sister as a leader, you should run from them. Right. They parade anybody black. You want an example? Barack Obama.
Right. That's right.
Who knew of Barack Obama like that before the white man put him up for presidency? But everybody loved Barack. They was calling him Jesus Christ in the flesh. Right. And he was going to come and free black people. And all he did was open up homosexuality, transgenders, and more Planned Parenthood clinics. He didn't have one single thing productive. I know most people like to tell me healthcare. But when he was going for office, he didn't say, I'm going to bring healthcare to black people. He said, I'm going to liberate black people. I'm going to do this for black people. He was going to be the voice, but he never was the voice. Matter of fact, I think it wasn't about every 3 months, 4 months, it was a black person being killed, and he did nothing and said nothing about it. When them kids died in Connecticut, he cared about that. Not only did he care about it, black people cared about that. Victor Cruz putting on his sneakers, that's why he tore his damn knee up. Putting on his damn sneakers and everything. That's why he tore his knee up. Anyway, in the book, Wallace called abolitionists like Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth ugly and stupid for supporting black men. Black men. That's what this book was. The book said that Harriet Tubman, who some called a general for her generalship, for her leadership in freeing black men, Sojourner Truth, another strong sister, called them stupid and ugly for supporting black men. She called black revolutionaries chauvinistic macho pigs and advised black women to go it along. How could you call, like if you think about at this time in the 70s, you think about the Muslims for, Malcolm X and the Muslims and stuff like that. And I'm not talking about their ideologies right now. I'm just talking about them as black men, all right? So you take the Nation of Islam and those brothers, you take the Black Panthers and those brothers, what were they fighting for? They were fighting for the black household. Whether I agree with their ideologies or not, in their sense of authority, they were fighting for the black woman. They were fighting for the black man. That's why they're calling them revolutionaries. And who's calling them revolutionaries? The white man, because they're trying to change from their system of government. But this black woman said that black revolutionaries were chauvinistic pigs and advised black women to go it alone. So who was going to protect them? Who's going to protect black women? We done already showed you they put black women in the third position. White women first, white men second, black women third. They got rid of the black man. Gloria Steinem said that Wallace's book would define the future of black relationships. Did she not tell the truth? Black women been going at it alone for the last 40 years. Been going at it alone. And how has that worked? And then when we start charging black women for taking ownership for going at it alone, they get offended. But it's better to say, you know what? I was wrong for going at it alone. I need that man to come back in the house. Can you please come back in my house? I'm calling you, I'm emailing you. Can you please come back in my house and fix it? All right? Excuse me. And she pushed hard to make sure the book would see massive publicity. Give me the next slide. Gloria Steinem's work triggered a flood of hate black men books and films that continue to this day. I mentioned Color Purple. I've never seen Color Purple all the way through. I've seen like bits and pieces of it. Like the guy that's trying to tell you something part, I remember that. I remember when Whoopi Goldberg, the kids, I think, was in the field or something like that. I don't really remember much about the movie. I know that the father raped his daughter and then gave her to Danny Glover. That's the start of what imagery they start putting on the black man in the media. And then I already told y'all about 4 Colored Girls. And here's another part. Waiting to Exhale. Anybody seen that? Waiting to Exhale. Waiting to Exhale. It start off with the brother leaving her for a white woman. And then Angela Bassett, she meet Wesley Snipes, the king of dating white women. You meet Wesley Snipes in the hotel, and who he got? A white woman. Then you got the sister, Whitney Houston, dealing with a married man. So of course, women look at him like he's disgusted. Then you got the other sister that's dealing with two men. One of them is an alcoholic. Remember, he was outside the house, talking about why you ain't going with me. Then the other one dissing her and leaving her. And then you had the one with the son, right? And that's the part I want to bring out. At the end of that movie, and I happened to see this as I was leaving my house today. At the end of that movie, the mother was talking to Gregory Hines, which Gregory Hines didn't play a homo in the movie. He's a homo out. Right? So that's even worse. So there ain't no black man to look at. There ain't no black man to look at. So if you're looking at Gregory, he's playing an outer body experience right now. So, but the sister says something real heavy, which we're gonna get into a little bit later. She said, I was wrong for keeping my son Tyree from traveling because I was looking at Tyree as more than just a son. He became like my man, not in a sexual way, but he became my man. So I started treating him like my date and so forth like that. Because black women, again, you wanted to be free, but you really didn't want to be free. You needed that manly presence in the house. So you would try to keep a man around. So who would you keep? Your son. That's why they would call them what? Mama's boys. Because you would then develop a relationship with him. That's another part of the miseducation. I'm sorry. The so-called black feminist movement was created and manipulated by the CIA from the very beginning. We always speak of the infiltration. I kind of jumped it. We always speak of the infiltration of the civil rights movement, the FOI, the Black Panthers, among others. But black feminists are still unwilling to admit that they were infiltrated and manipulated to destroy the black man and the black household. The result of Hate Black Men movement has become more than just a political point of view. It is now a central part of culture of black women. And this fact has led to the complete distortion of black relationships, and the CIA had a direct hand in handling that. I was listening to I'm Independent by Salt-N-Pepa. I'm a little older, that's in the 80s. In the song, it said, I'll wear the pants, you wear the dress. That's what Salt-N-Pepa is saying. That's all that you would see all throughout. Even light-skinned women and dark-skinned women. School Days. School Days, white movie, right? School Days, white movie. Until you see the sisters with the natural hair and the sisters with the good hair, now what are they teaching us too? Fighting each other over that. What the hell does your hair have to do with anything? If a sister got good hair, let her have it. If a sister want to go natural, let her have it. Now y'all realize what we fighting over? I ain't never seen a redhead white person and a blonde white person fight over their goddamn hair. I ain't seen it yet.
Right.
But us, black folk, we fight over everything. Let a bunch of tall people come here. And the short man in here, he would hate them just because they're tall. This is Job, the 39th chapter, the 16th verse. It says, she is hardened against her young ones as though they were not hers. These scriptures that we read in the Bible are very important because they're all learning. It's like history. It's like a culture. Huh? No, it's not. It's not. Job 39:6 says, she is hardened against her young ones as though they were not hers. Her labor is in vain without fear. Verse 17, it says, because the Most High hath deprived her of wisdom, neither hath he imparted in her understanding. What time she lifted herself up on high, or Asher can lift herself up on high. What time she lifted herself up on high, she scorned the horse and his rider. Who's the horse? Who's the rider of the horse? The rider of the horse synonymous is who's pulling the trail, who's pulling the wagon. That would be the brother. That would be the black man. So when it says she scorns the horse and the rider, it's talking about her tearing it down with the wisdom that she learned from that feminist movement that totally destroyed her. When you read Job, the 39th chapter, the ashes are used as a metaphor. Give me the next slide. Say again. No, but I didn't want you to think it was that he was talking about a literal ostrich at that point. It was just a metaphor. Can I play that? Now I'm gonna show us what's going. Now I'm gonna play this. This is in the 80s, and I'm just showing you how once that feminist movement came in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, we're gonna go through some statistics. We're gonna go through this video here and show, was it better when we were separated or was it better when we were together? Okay, everybody with me? Go ahead.
Raise your hand if you're married. None of you are married. Raise your hand if you would
This is in the 80s. They got these black women here. Go ahead.
like to be married to your baby's father. One.
None of them want to be married to their baby's father. They just asked, do y'all want to be married to your baby's father? I said, no.
The rest of you don't plan to get married. Why don't you plan to get married? I'd like to know that.
You already have your child to think about, and then a whole family to care for. You know, it's a lot of responsibility, and then you don't want the commitments.
I don't want no man holding me down because I think I can make it as a single parent.
But don't you think you might need help in raising that baby from a man?
Not really. I didn't have a father. My father wasn't in the home, so you know it really. Male figures are not substantially important in the family.
You see that? That's in the 80s, so that's like 10 years removed from the lesbian movement. Our young, those are all teenagers. And now they're taught they don't need a man. You see how she said the male figure ain't been in the house? Because he's been removed from the house. And now that he's been removed in the house, that affects the social structure and the social way of thinking of our young black children. Whereas if the black household was together, there's a structure and an order. This is Titus 2 and 3. It says the aged women likewise. Our aged women today, not everybody, of course, I'm talking as a whole, they don't raise our children the way that they're supposed to be raised. They don't raise their household the way that they're supposed to be raised. It says the aged women likewise, that they behavior is becoming holiness. The word holy means separate. It's not magic or anything like that. The word holy just means separate. So what does that mean? You're supposed to be separate from every outside influence except God's. Except the Most High's, you're not supposed to have anything. It says not false accusers, not given too much wine, teachers of good things. Like I said, women do teach. Women can teach men. Women can. When I'm saying men, I'm not talking about in the spiritual sense, but things that they may not know. They can teach their children. They can teach their younger sisters. They can teach their younger grandchildren, etc. That they may teach the young women to be sober, not in an alcoholic way, but sober meaning clear-minded, meaning level-headed. How to deal with things as you get older because they have the experience of living a certain way. But being that our age women are not living that certain way, now you get the trickle-down effect. That's why you got so many teenage pregnancies and they don't know what to do. To love their husbands. This should be underlined and capitalized. I should have underlined and capitalized that. Right. To love their husbands. And let me tell you something.
Right.
You let that man go inside of you, that is your husband. Right. He goes inside.
Right.
That is marriage. You can't let multiple men go inside of you and just say, okay, now I'm going to go to the white man, get his permission. Now I'm really married. Right. You realize that? The greatest treasure the black woman got is your body. Just like the greatest treasure a black man got is his body. So now you're going to give your body to 5 different men, but it's the only one that you got the permission from the white man to marry is the one that you consider your husband. That don't make no damn sense. And to love their children. If you kick your man out the house, you don't really love your children.
Right.
You put your man on child support, you don't really love your children. That's right. You make your man suffer, and this goes for men too, but we're talking about the woman today. All right, so I don't want nobody to say, well, the man got to do this or nothing. I understand. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Today is just the woman. If you do any of them things, you do not love your children. And nobody can tell me that child support is necessary because I lived it. I lived it. Nobody can tell me that, right, mama? My mama raised 3 kids. 3. My father was a drug addict. He was in and out the house, right? My mother never put him on child support. I've never heard my mother utter an evil word about my father.
That's right.
Entire life. You know what that taught me? You know what that taught me? When I got older, I was able to forgive my father. Because I said, if I felt that my father offended my mother that way, and my mother forgave him, and I never heard her utter, how could I hold that anger? Because she said, you know what she said? She said he was already suffering enough with the drug addiction. Why would I put the white man's system on top of him too?
Right.
Now, me and my father was able to develop a great relationship. Now, if she was the opposite, put them on child support, calling the police on them. I may not have had the relationship that I had with my father. And then if I was ever cutting up, she would find my father wherever he was at, and she would bring him back. And you know why I would listen to my father? Because my mother reverenced him even in his low state.
Right.
Even in his low state, she reverenced him. And black women need to learn that. So you can't tell me you need child support. Verse 5, to be discreet. I mean, what it means to be discreet, meaning don't run your mouth to everybody. Everybody don't need to know in your business or be in your business, especially like that. Chase keepers at home, good, obedient to their husbands.
Right.
Love your husbands, obedient to your husbands.
Right.
You should listen to that man. It says that the word of the Most High is not blasphemed. So when you do the opposite of these things, you're blaspheming the Most High, because he created you to be with your man. Just like he created the man to be with his woman. There ain't nothing more natural than a man being with a woman. Ain't nothing more natural than that. The confusion comes when you put the white man, he damn near ain't even a man.
Right.
Damn beast. That's the confusion. When you put him in there, like if you take the black man on one side and the black woman on one side, the great divide is everything. White supremacy, feminist movement, abortion, drugs, murder, all of that. And all that comes from the white man. If we take that divide out, then the black man and black woman come together. Everybody got it? Next slide. It's another thing we learned, right? This here is what a woman decided to do to her son. Can you imagine what the father thought when he saw that? Now, I didn't want to bring too much, like I said. And then this one here, my man Corey Holcomb is another one of my heroes. I like Corey Holcomb. Corey Holcomb saw this picture. Now, remember I told y'all, women turn their boys into their boyfriends. This is, now he got clothes on, but she's butt naked. What is she teaching her son? Let me tell you, black women, something. If you walking around your house naked around your kids, you should stop that shit.
That's right.
You should not let the first titties and ass your son see be yours, because you're psychologically damaging him. That should not be the first titties and ass that he sees. That's what this boy learned. And then Corey Holcomb said something that was the truth. He said, this is a part of what's wrong with black America. These whores, I'm saying it because he said it on here. I don't normally talk like this. I don't normally talk like this, but I got to read the slide. It's on the slide. Mama, it's on the slide. This is a part of what's wrong with black America. These whores want their sons to be bitches, fucking disgusting. Straight clown. Now, who approves this?
Who is that?
This is some. Now, well, give me the next clip. Now, Corey Holcomb had the opportunity to speak on TMZ because they had to hype this about it. Now, I shortened it just for time's sake, so I shortened it just a little bit. So play it, please.
What a brand. Corey's joining us right now. Corey, thanks for joining us on TMZ Live.
When I watch this, his face is so funny to me. All right, so if I laugh, I don't mean to laugh. Being that he's a comedian, it's kind of funny to me. Go ahead.
Were you attempting to make a joke, or was this like I just don't? It's a pretty harsh comment.
Look at the white dog. Hold on. Can you bring it back? Let's look at this white dog. Pay attention to this white dog the whole time. Just watch your face. I see frowning. Getting all red. I hate white people.
That's right.
What a brand. Corey's joining us right now. Corey, thanks for joining us on TMZ Live. Were you attempting to make a joke, or was this like I just don't? It's a pretty harsh comment.
You see the white woman?
It had joke tendencies in it, but whenever you got a young kid, looks like he's about 5, 6, 7, 8, and he's laying on top of his mom, I think that's pedophile behavior. Because I know if a man had a picture of like that when he was naked holding his son like that, they'd be knocking on his door arrested. She's probably just a little arrogant girl, and this is her claim to fame because a lot.
Because that's another thing that is teaching us. Now, the first thing he said, that's pedophile behavior. If that was a man that put that picture up, you would say he's sexting that boy. Right. Period. You'd be saying, they would have the police at his door. He wouldn't be on TMZ. He'd be on CNN. It wouldn't be entertainment news. It would be national news of that. You understand?
Yeah. How about sending your shot record up?
The people who I know saw that picture, they felt the way I felt. So a lot of people who don't feel like the picture is offensive, you know, that goes to show it's two different sides to this world. But that picture looks like a naked woman who has her son who's too old to be sitting on top of her naked. And
But your tweet said that what was wrong with Black America is they want their sons to be bitches, which is almost insinuating that there's something effeminate about what the kid is doing. I don't understand what you're saying here sounds different than the tweet.
yeah, so what? I mean, I wouldn't expect you to understand, but what I'm saying is.
You said, Jerry, what you said, I wouldn't expect you to understand that. That's real talk. Because white people as a nation have no compassion for black people. I was taking a step further. White people have no compassion except for their own. They accept us to love what they love, hate what they hate. They cannot see how disgusting that is. And then they'll sleep with their kids anyway. You know,
Right. I can understand. I'm a smart person. I can listen to you and understand.
Okay, I'll take your word for it, but what I'm saying is, in Black America, there's not a lot of fathers at home. So these kids grow up, and their moms do things like that to them, and in my opinion, that sends them off into the world lost, just like their mom.
You're saying that he's in your words, he's a bitch because.
You see what he said? He said that sends them into a lost world. And then he said something heavy, which is what they are. Because they remove, like a black woman will deal with a man long enough to have a baby, but won't let that father raise him. And then when you see all these effeminate men out here, don't want to take the responsibility of what they created. Black women created these men. Like that picture right there, if that brother grows up and he's a homosexual, you can only point right to that picture. You know what America would say? Father wasn't around. I guarantee you she removed that father out of that equation. And that's what we're not willing to face in 2017. Cut it out.
He has a close relationship with his mother. What I'm saying is, I'm sure a lot of people will find that picture inappropriate, but because she's the woman and the double standard is applying right now, I'm the bad guy to say it was obvious. Because I don't think, there's no place for that picture. What do you send that picture to? Send that picture to the grandma. I bet the grandma had a heart attack.
Grandma. Right. You're going to send that picture to grandma. Grandma ain't going to like, can I send that picture to you? Hell no. Like, why you send that to me? Give me the next slide, please. I ain't going to keep you out much longer. In 1950, now we're going to go to some statistics. Because again, the liberation movement, they had to be free from black men. Because this, again, don't make no sense. Because we ain't been, like, black men have really not had the chance to run a household free from white oppression since we've been in America. The little experiment, when we was able to build Black Wall Street, whatever, that threatened America. When they saw what black men were able to do, because remember, we were supposed to be uneducated at that time. We couldn't read, we couldn't write, but we built everything. And another misnomer is stop calling black men lazy, please. Because black men built America. I'm sorry. Built all America that was built off of black men. Yes, right. All right. So now, in 1950, 72% of all black men and 81% of all black women had been married. What do we have to be liberated from? We was married in the house together, so now you got to think about the psychosis of the white man. Not even the psychosis of the black woman and the black man at this time, because we knew what was right. We knew it was better to be together. Every census from 1890 to 1950 showed that black labor force participation rates were higher than those of whites. Prior to the 60s, the unemployment rate for blacks was 16 to 17 was under 10%. I'm bringing out all these statistics to show what happened after the 60s. Like the 60s was like a pinnacle year. Like Shahrazad Ali said, in the beginning of the civil rights, when they were separated from the black man, separated from the white man, you seen opportunities of us growing and getting better and bigger. As soon as we start joining the white man, who's the most famous joiner of white man? Who knows? Martin Luther King. I know that hurt some people hard, cut you to the core, but he was the death of black people. That's right. He joined us to the white man at an unforgivable level. He joined us to the white man in the sense of no matter what the white man does to you, you got to forgive him and let it go. You got to be nonviolent. So that's why I'm saying the 60s was that pinnacle. And then to show you the white man's appreciation, he killed that nigga. I said it like that on purpose. He killed him. He killed them to show his appreciation. So now, before 1960, the number of teenage pregnancies had been decreasing. Both poverty and dependency were declining. So at a time when black people was really coming out of their hellish condition, at that time, in the 60s, black income was rising in both absolute and relative terms to white income. You think the white man wasn't paying attention to that? All that black revolutionary was making black households come together and stay together and deal only in black. Now, in 1965, 76.4% of black children were born to married women, meaning they wasn't set. And this type of marriage is the paperwork marriage. Nowadays say y'all Israelites call it marriage, but this was the paperwork marriage, which makes it important, meaning the black man was going to get the paperwork to actually marry his woman, 76.4%. Next slide. Between the 1960 and 64, blacks will rise to the professional high level, positions at a greater rate than the 5 years following the passage of the Civil Rights Act. Civil rights was supposed to liberate black people all the way and bring us into the fold. In 1980, remember the numbers I gave, 31% of all black firstborn children were born to teenage mothers. Now, in the 60s, it was decreasing. In the 80s, it was rising. That's why I played that video of them teenage girls. And by 1992, 54% of all black children were living only with their mothers. This is what the feminist movement calls. This is what the civil rights movement calls. This is what the CIA put in a system, because, of course, today I'm talking about the liberation of black women. But you have to also take into accountability the drug epidemic that also came up. You understand? This ain't about the black men today. So any of y'all getting y'all questions lined up, because I ain't addressing black men, that's not today. We got to get out of that notion that if we talk about black women, we got to talk about black men. Because when we talk about black men, don't nobody say I got to talk about black women. Right. So now, in 2009, 73% of black children were born to unmarried mothers. We went from 73% of black men and women being married to 73% of black children being born to unmarried mothers. And you can thank that for that. In First Ezra's in the Apocrypha 8:85, it says, moreover, we should never seek to have peace with them. What does it mean to have peace? Meaning trying to get peace treaties with a white man is insanity to me. Ask the Native Indians how them peace treaties work. Right. Over 178 peace treaties? How many did the white man keep? Who knows? Not one. Not one treaty did the white man think it was worthy enough to keep with the Native Indians, but in 2017, we think we're going to come to the point where it's going to work out. It's never going to work out. And it says we should seek to have peace that we may be strong. So look at the numbers. And I think I got some more after this. But look at the numbers. Before civil rights and before we integrated, we were 74% married. After integration, we 73% of black children were born to unmarried mothers. By 92, 54% of all black children was only living with their mothers. Now imagine if we would have stayed separated from the white man. This ain't just a UPK thing. This is a God thing. The Most High wants us to be separated from him. Go to the next slide. This is how they portray men in the media. Now, I got all this off of 2 movies. For Colored Girls, no, 3 movies. For Colored Girls, Colored Purple, and Waiting to Exhale. These are the only bottom lines that they deal with, for the most part. Now, you're going to probably give me the 2 movies with Denzel doing something good. But for the most part, they got us portrayed as a rapist. They got us portrayed as a rapist, the abusive crazy man, the liar, the brother on the down low, child molester, a pimp, the non-existent baby daddy, and the drug dealer. One of these is what your average black man is playing in the movie. Unless he killing for the white man or something like that. You gonna say something? Oh, how could I forget the last one? Homosexual. So I forget that one. This is paramount today. This is paramount. What was that movie, Moonlight? I've only heard of it. I refuse. When they told me, and just imagine what they portraying. If I'm not mistaken, that's a black father sleeping with his son. Am I correct? No. What is the Moonlight? It wasn't a father and son? Oh, that's a YouTube video. A YouTube movie, rather. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. The YouTube movie was about a father. And was there any homosexuality in it? Yeah. They got an award. They got an Oscar. When I see the white man give an Oscar to niggas, excuse my language. When I see the white man give an award, just think about it. When they give an Oscar to Denzel, what did he have to play? The drug dealer. The cop drug dealer at that. Monsters Ball, do I really got to go into that? Monsters Ball is one of the most heinous movies I've ever seen. Halle Berry. Before Monsters Ball, Halle Berry was the bomb to everybody. Everybody liked Halle Berry. It was in the rap songs, all of that. After Monsters Ball, how Jada can say why a white man have to pop her to get an Oscar. And then they had the nastiest devil. Billy Bob Thornton, the nastiest devil. And if you think about the state that they put that black woman in, goes into the miseducation. That Billy Bob Thornton worked at the prison that she was going to see her husband who was in jail. So where was her husband at? In prison. Right? Now, the guard is now sleeping with his woman. Now imagine when the man in jail finds that out. It's bad enough being in jail. Now he gonna see the guard every day that's sleeping with his woman. That's what you have to do in America. That's what they push. The homosexual, Tyler Perry is a good example of that. Right. I remember my daughter came in the house one day and she was like, Daddy, I saw this movie with this mama, with this old grand lady, and she was sassy. It was funny as hell. I said, what was it? She said, my dear's final reunion, my face froze. And I said to her, do you know that was a man? That's all I said. She said, who? I said, the grandmother. And her eyes looked like they went in the back of her head. She never mentioned it to me again. You know, now imagine those that don't know, or even if they do know and their parents encourage that. What is that encouraging? For homosexuality to run rampant. Right. You can get rich if you're a homo. You can do all that. Or if you get down with white folk. Give me the next slide. A day without women. I think this almost the end. I ain't gonna hold y'all too long. A day without women. Now, this came up because Trump got in office. One of the most, according to America, one of the most violent white men on the planet. To me, he's the most realest white man on the planet. Me. So now, they came up with this because Trump got elected by who?
White women.
Thank y'all for paying attention. He got elected by white women, which is why black women need to understand, like a sister had wrote in her book, that the black woman was the mule for white women. And that's a true statement. And the black man is the mule for the white man. And we don't realize how much we get used to where they seduce. And I'm going to show y'all something about black women and how far y'all actually come in America, on America's terms, to where y'all should never associate with white women anymore. But black women have become so seduced. Here it is. They said Trump is worse because he said grab him by the box or grab him by the vagina. And he's so vulgar. Now, when you think about Trump getting in office, who was his opponent to get in office? Hillary Clinton. Ain't she a woman? A white woman at that, right? Ain't that the time for the feminists to come up? That's the feminist come up, ain't it? That should be the time. Hillary should have won by a landslide from at least, let's say if she wouldn't have won. The percentage of women, the white women that voted for Trump was 54%. So that means Hillary got 46. If the white women really wanted women to roar and be strong, it should have been like 80-20, maybe 90-10 in support of Hillary from white women. So why do y'all think it is that they voted for Trump? Who wants to take a guess? Anybody? There's gonna be a lesson for you black women. Who want to take a guess? Nah, I know you know the answer. Guess, sis.
The standing behind the white man.
To do what?
The standing behind the white man.
Give that girl a hand. All right. Badell? She said heavy. She said to stand behind the white man. You know why she would stand behind that white man? Because although Donald Trump is vulgar as hell, because he disrespects women, she also knows that he won't let another race touch her. So he'll put her in office because he has a military standing behind him, a power behind him. If an African says something to me, if an Arab says something to me, he will bomb the hell out of the whole country for me. And that's more important than him saying grab me by the box. Meanwhile, if a brother say something sideways, 911 right on the dial. Black women, you rather have the power over the man than the protection that the man can only give.
Right.
And the power that you're taking is destroying you. Because the only power you can get outside of a black man is either a white man or that white woman that you chose to join. And of course, I got a biblical description. We just celebrated the Feast of Purim. For those that don't know, the Feast of Purim was about Queen Esther, who was a queen under a king of another nation. She hadn't seen that king in a minute. And here it was, one of the king's servants put out a decree to kill the Jews. And Mordecai, who was an Israelite, was mad at that and sat at the doorstep, tore off his garments. He was in ashes, but he was a peasant in comparison to the queen. Who did Queen Esther listen to? Did Queen Esther listen to the king, or did she listen to the peasant? Who did she listen to? Anybody know? She listened to the peasant. That should be a lesson to black women. That black woman was a queen in the kingdom, and she used her power to belittle herself, to humble herself to a peasant. And when she humbled herself to that peasant, freed the whole goddamn nation.
Right.
Now imagine if black women like Michelle Obama, when she was under that heat and did that.
Right.
You would actually free your people. But when you love other people more than yours, you destroy it.
Right.
That's why the Bible is the only answer, because you'll never get a scenario like today anywhere else but the Bible. Period. That's why I pulled up Purim. So now, the organizers behind January's March on Washington are using Wednesday as a day of action to spotlight the economic power and value of women and the contributions to society in paid and unpaid labor. Organizers hope to call attention to economic injustices that women face, such as lower wages, gender discrimination, sexual harassment, and job insecurity. This day is also intended to push for gender justice. You cannot have a day about nothing in America without gender justice. Y'all know what gender justice is, right? That's where them faggots come, excuse my language. That's where them lesbians come. That's gender justice. Recognizing that trans and gender non-conforming people face equally compelling issues of discrimination and marginalization. And since we've been in America, every time they've had an active public right for black people, gays are always a part of it. Martin Luther King's right-hand man was who? No. Bayard Rustin, an open homosexual. That's who's a part of our organization. So now give me the next slide. Education. So now let's look at the education of the black woman to see if she need to be marching with the white woman to care about white women's problems, or is she just being used to push the white woman's propaganda? It says a new report confirms that black women are now the most educated group in the United States. So what are they marching for? It says, but we still have a long way to go for pay equity. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, between 2009 and 2010, black women earned 68% of all associate degrees awarded to black students, as well as 66% of bachelor degrees, 71% of master's degrees, and 65% of all doctorates awarded to black students. Black women is killing it in the game right now.
Right.
I don't know why they need to march for education.
Right.
But when you don't know, when you just go by media propaganda, it seduces you. The report also says that the percentage of U.S. college students who are black increased from 10 to 15% from 76 to 2012, while the percentage of white students fell from 84% to 60%. By both race and gender, a higher percentage of black women are enrolled in college than any other group, topping Asian women, and white men, meaning more black women are in school than anybody on the planet in America. So what you're marching for? But when you don't know this type of information, when you've been seduced, that's why I brought it from slavery. That's why I showed the DNA. When it's in your DNA to subject yourself unto the punishment and torture, you don't think to look it up. You just follow, well, I'm going to hate Trump because the white woman hates Trump. You don't even really know why you hate Trump. That's why, like, a lot of people got mad at me when I said I wanted Trump to get in office. I really did. I'm going to tell you why. If we would have had Hillary Clinton in office, we'd have been under that same 8-year spell Obama put us under. Right. Looking for another opportunity. Having Trump in office allows you to face the white man in his purest form. Right. When you think of your president, when you salute that goddamn flag and say, I pledge allegiance to the United States, now you got to think of a real devil, of a real diabolical beast that you know hates you. And it should make you question who you're giving your loyalty to. Should your loyalty continue to go to America, or should it go to that homeless brother that needs a meal, to that sister that's been molested, to that brother that's on drugs? Where should our loyalty go to? We got to reanalyze our thought process. Keep going. Black women, now we're going to look at this. The day without women have anything to do with black women. Black women have made the greatest strides recently. In 2011, 33% of employed black women have jobs in management or professional occupations compared to 23% of black men. As a matter of fact, 64% of working African American women hold white-collar occupations compared to 50% of black men. 36% of employed black men hold blue-collar jobs compared to 8% of black women. So even in corporate America, black women are winning. So when they said we got to do that marching, well, black women had to do that marching. What was you really marching for? How much more? You was doing fine without a march. Like before you ever marched, you was killing it. You 64% of white collar. Women don't want to do no labor anyway. You had 64%. Imagine if you didn't march, if you stayed doing what you was doing. What you're lacking, though, is guidance, because a black man would have been in your house and said, don't go down there and march. Right. My wife didn't go down there and march. She knew she ain't supposed to have nothing to do with that. No brother in the Israelite school EPK wife said, I'm going down there and march.
That's right.
I don't know about the rest of y'all. I'll probably send y'all down. Next slide. I know some of y'all probably was down there like, I want to see what they're talking about. Now we're going to talk about fathers to see if the black man being taken out, because remember, feminist movement was about removing the black man out the house. So let's see how it is with the man out the house or in the house. It says father-absent families generally occupy the bottom rung of our society's economic ladder. Unwed mothers are 4 times more likely to live in poverty than the average American. Female-headed black families earn only 36% as much as 2-parent black families. Not only do unmarried mothers tend to earn relatively little, but their households are obviously limited due to a single breadwinner, thus further widening the income gap between 1-parent households and 2-parent households. Fully 85% of all black children in poverty live in single-parent and mother-child only homes. Give me the next slide. The single black illegitimacy rate is so high that these pathologies plague black more than they affect our other demographic. Now, if y'all was paying attention earlier, before civil rights, before liberation, before all of that, you couldn't find these numbers. These numbers was not, you know how they have you be in the red or you be in the black. The black is where you're trying to get, the red is what you're in, it's in danger. We're in the red after civil rights and liberation. We was chilling prior to that. That's why we have to go back to that. Now, what do you have to remove to go back to that? Give me one thing you got to remove go back to that. Thank you. Who said that? What's your name, brother? That brother's smart. Goddamn white man. I heard this title of this lecture. Remove the white man. Right. That's what I title of the lecture. Right. It says, illegitimacy, family breakdown, crime, and fraudulent education are all devastating problems, but they are not civil rights problems. That's what Walter E. Williams said. A devil. I'm gonna read it again. Illegitimacy, these are all things that plague black people. Illegitimacy, family breakdown, crime, and fraudulent educations are devastating problems, meaning they recognize that there's problems for black people, but they are not civil rights problems. But I thought civil rights was about black people getting rights that would make their life better. Right. So why are the things that are plaguing black people not civil rights problems? Because civil rights was never created to address black issues. That's why. And that's what you have to recognize. As late as 1950, black women nationwide were more likely to be married than white women. And only 9% of black families with children were headed by a single parent. This is 1950. You see that? 9%. In 1950s, black children had a 52% chance of living with both their biological parents until age 17. You'd be lucky if you get a year today. It says by the late 1980s, these odds dwindled to a mere 6%. So in the 1950s, 52, 1960s, 1980s, 6%. In 1959, only 2% of black children were reared in households in which the mother never married. 2%. That means every child was married. Excuse me, every child, their parents were married. It was only 2% that was not. How do we allow ourselves to get seduced that way? Because we love the white man more than we love ourselves. Right. Give me the next slide. While the overall black poverty rate remains about 2.5 times higher than the white poverty rate, the face of black poverty has changed dramatically in recent decades. At one time, almost all black families were poor regardless of whether both parents were present. Today, however, two-parent black families are rarely poor. Among black families where both the husband and wife work full-time, the current poverty rate is a mere 2%. So now, what this is basically saying is if you take the liberation movement and everything that's happened and how it destroyed us, if we slowly start to come back to this, if we go back to a black household the way it was meant to be, our structure is only now 2%. You got the next slide? In addition, growing up without fathers is a far better forecaster. Is a far better forecaster of a boy's future criminally than either race or poverty. I'm gonna read it again. In addition, growing up without a father is a far better forecaster of a boy's future in being a criminal than either race or poverty. Meaning, without that father, you can guarantee you'll see it. Your son or your daughter is going to be a criminal because the father is the disciplinarian. Why do you think when I brought out, my mama would go get my father wherever he was at? Because I was getting too wild. So my mother would go find where Carl was at, and Carl would come put the fear of God in me. I'd straighten up for a little while until he went away again, and then I would mess up again, and then she'd go get him again until I got it together. And I finally got it together, didn't need it. But when that father came around, I straightened up. That's why I'm saying that. 70% of all young people in state reform institutions were raised in fatherless homes, as were 60% of rapists were raised in fatherless homes. 72% of adolescent murders and 70% of long-term prison inmates were also. As Heritage Foundation scholar Robert Rector has noted, illegitimacy is a major factor in America's crime problem. Lack of married parents, rather than racial poverty, is the principal factor in the crime rate. Give me the next slide. If you take that father out the home, you're destroying him. Even if, let's say, if y'all can't live together, if you take the father out the picture, you're destroying that home. Because there's no structure. You have to have a balance. A son can never learn how to be a man from a woman.
Right.
I don't care how managed. I don't care how managed you want to be. I don't care what word you want to give him, what movie you want him to watch. There's nothing that's going to teach him how to be a man than a man.
Right.
Having a man in the house also helps your daughter. You know how it helps your daughter? A daughter does not learn how to be a wife potentially without seeing her mama be a wife to her father.
Right.
And then her interactions between the two of them will dictate how she's going to be when it's her time to be a wife. Now, when you remove the father, that's why it destroys the black household. That's why we have to resurrect that. Now, imagine the ones where the mother and father is there, and so that son gets to see the interaction, the daughter gets to see the interaction. It works out better. Children in single-parent households are raised not only with economic, but also social and psychological disadvantage. For instance, they are 4 times more likely as children from intact families to be abused or neglected, which is another thing that takes place. Another thing that takes place is the abuse. You can kill it. There's another thing that was the last slide. There's another thing that takes place where black women, there was a case that came out recently. I'll bring it up only because it fits the conversation. There was a case that came out recently where this guy, Prince George, just got arrested for beating their son and setting him on, burning him or something like that. And he wasn't even the child's father. So you would have to say, what type of woman would let their child be around that? Well, when you're run from the original father, because you want some type of protection, you'll let anybody in your house just to be with that man. To be with that man, there was in that movie, I'll bring up that movie, Medea's Family Reunion, for example. In that movie, Medea's Family Reunion, that mother let her daughter get raped by her husband because he was going to leave her if she didn't let him rape him. That's what you have when you remove the man out of the house. Now it's almost like survival. Well, I love him, so I'm just sacrifice my own children. That's what our black women have become. So what I did with this lecture, which I hope y'all appreciate it, what I wanted to do with this lecture was not only just talk about destroying the black woman and making her feel like trash, but to just point out the pitfalls that, number one, it's not her fault in the sense that she's been psychologically traumatized since slavery. So a lot of these things that she's doing, she thinks she's doing it naturally when she's been programmed since slavery. It's been hereditary. Your great-great-great-great-grandmother's been oppressed, and then all you've seen that you've been in a survival state. Just like the black man has been in a survival state. And we only had a short gap of being free from the white man, and that was maybe when slavery first got away from us until about the 1920s or so. And when the white man saw our greatness, he put that system in there to destroy us ever since. So that's the solution. So anybody got any questions? That continues my lecture. I appreciate that. Try not to have you all along. Don't teach me, please.
I have a question. But if we've both been traumatized, it still may not, even though we come together, it still makes people some problems that create still sex, incest, abuse, because our minds have still not been healed.
The healing starts with this truth, and that's the Bible. That's why when I was bringing out the scriptures, understanding the order that's supposed to be between a man and a woman, and understanding, like, if you don't think that you're traumatized or think that you're bothered, you'll never actually go to get fixed. Everybody goes to the doctor all the time to get what? Medicine, right? Well, the Bible is the medicine for black people. In order for us to get healed, you have to be willing to take that medicine. And medicine don't taste good. Anybody ever take medicine that was nasty? I think all medicine is nasty, ain't it? But you taking that medicine because when you wake up in the morning, that cough congestion is going to be gone. That pain you had in your knee is going to be gone after you took that medicine. So we have to be willing to take that medicine. Without this truth, without the Bible, you may have moments of peace, but it'll never be fully fixed until we get into the truth.
Okay, I need to change the topic, but I noticed a few brothers out there have a problem. They like to hit and be verbally abusive.
Right.
So how do you handle a man? I mean, I don't have a man like that, but how would you handle? No, I don't have a nice one.
Right.
But how do you handle somebody who's like that? Because I find out here other of my girlfriends that they men are verbally abusive, or they like to be physically abusive. So what's up with that?
Well, some cases,
I know you don't have all the answers, but I'm just saying, a lot of brothers out there like that.
what I would say first, if I were to give a scripture answer, 1 Peter 3:1 says a woman with a chaste conversation can bring her man. Now, in some cases, that's not always the answer. What I tell all my sisters and my brothers when they're facing problems like that, just call us and we'll take care of it. We'll solve the problem. No, see, like y'all automatically go to violence. Y'all gonna come and beat them up, dog. We're not talking about coming to beat them up. But like we're counselors. Like we're counselors. So we can counsel that brother, we can counsel that sister, we can counsel that sister and tell her what she's saying that's setting them off. And then we can counsel that brother to not go off what she's saying. Because again, you have that problem. Like we were all like the brothers that you see in the UPK, they were all different walks of life. That's just like school of UPK. That's where I'm at. So now we come from all different walks of life. We wasn't angels. We wasn't, we wasn't innocent or anything like that. And so once we came into the truth, we learned to kill our former self, put off the former conversation, become a man of God. That's what I said. Like that spirit that they take on is a white man's spirit. Like the white man will beat a woman and so forth like that, have no regard. But a brother following the laws of the Most High, you will not do.
Okay, I have another question too. Now you talking about the Bible, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna get technical here. Now I have a problem with that Bible. No, I'm being honest with you because didn't the Bible come out of Europe when you were back when you were at? We didn't have that Bible until the white man came into Africa. So is this the King James Version? This is your own new edition Bible. I'm being real here.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Don't let my laughter fool you. I take it serious.
Because I have a problem with the Bible that came from Europe and they brought that over, and that's what they used to enslave us. I'm just being real.
No, that's fine.
Okay, so what Bible you go? Is this the King James Version that came out of Europe? Which one are you going to?
The black people, okay,
No,
so now,
I want to know. I'm curious.
oh, no sweat. So when it comes to the Bible, first of all, the Bible is just a translation of Hebrew and Greek. The Bible is a translation of the Hebrew records. So when you read Genesis in English, you can find Genesis in Hebrew. They call it a Torah or a Tanakh. And it existed long before the King James Version. The King James Version is the one that we use is because it's the closest translation to the Hebrew and the Greek. Now, when you say it comes from Europe, when you say it comes from King James was not a white man. That's a misnomer. King James was a brother. You know, you ever heard of the Dark Ages?
Yes.
The Dark Ages was dark to the white man because black people were ruling Europe.
Right.
About 300 AD to about the 1300s. So the Stuarts, where King James comes from, all of those were black men. And the reason why King James he didn't write the Bible, first of all. He just had the top Hebrew scholars and Greek scholars translate. And the reason why he was having it translated is because the white Catholics was trying to alter it all the way. So he fought against them to make sure that we have the proper Bible. When it comes to Africa, because you say because we came out of Africa. The only reason we came out of Africa is because we were sold from Africa. We fled into Africa in 70 AD. In 70 AD, when Israel got destroyed as a nation, we fled. Over 1 million black people fled into Africa. So it's a lot of people that think that Africans are just selling any black person they can find. But Africans knew exactly who they were selling. They were selling us. That's why when you look up the records of slaves, you look at their names, you'll see that they had Hebrew names because we knew exactly who we were when we came over here. So it's not a European book. It's just here's how you know it's not European. Jesus Christ, right? You're familiar with that name, right? Who's Jesus Christ? Is he white or black?
I'm gonna say he's black.
I don't know. No, okay, give me the popular notion of Jesus Christ.
I say he's black.
No, not what you say. Give me the popular.
Oh, they say he's white.
He's white, right? Can you find that in the Bible?
No.
That's how you know that it's not a European concept.
So wait a minute, you're moving too fast.
I'm sorry.
So wait, I'm trying to understand. So you're telling me that King James was a black man,
right?
Okay, so why do I hear this stuff that King James was gay and he was bisexual and all this stuff?
Because he was fighting. Number one, that didn't come out about King James until about 40 years after he died, and that was again by his constituents who was trying to defame him. But there's no proven history that King James was gay. He wrote a letter to his son that told him not to be gay, to eschew from wearing women's clothing, piercing your nails, and everything. And here's another key thing. You're talking about the King James Bible, right? You know, the King James Bible say mankind shall not lie with mankind, right? Faggots write Bibles today, and they take that out. Right. So King James was gay, he would have took that out.
I was just trying to turn off and just do my little own spiritual
Don't do your own, sis.
And I was saying, the Bible came out of Europe, so what's going on here? But where can I find that information? When
I
you
gotta
said
don't leave. If
that
they don't find it in my
King
bag, that's my bag right there.
was a
It's
black
not in
man.
there.
That I need to
How's it hard? I got a book of, no, okay, I'm listening to you.
I'm just trying to get everything that you said, but I was kind of turned off by the Bible because of that, you know, because I was getting kind of confused here.
I have a book in my car, whether we get through the
Now, how
Q&A
much
before you leave. I'm not selling it. It's my book. I'm not selling you the book. I'm just going to show it to you. But whether we do it now or afterwards, I'll show you in the book the history of King James, how all of them, and they knew they was Israelites too. They used to call themselves Jacobs and so forth.
But I was kind of turned
The book
off.
ain't that expensive though. It's only like $19.
Because I was kind of turned off because I studied all kind of different religions, different aspects, and I was having a problem. All my friends go hallelujah to the church with that Bible. I'm saying,
Right.
what are they praying to the Bible for? That's what they used to conquer. So I was like kind of confused.
Well, a lot of them are not praying. A lot of them are not praying to the Bible or to God. They're praying to that white Jesus that you're referring. Right. And so we are stuck on a lot of imagery. That's why I say, what is the popular image of Christ? You say white boy. But when you actually read the Bible, you find out that he's not. So what you have to really analyze is if these white people lied about how he looked, what else did they lie about? What else did they keep from us? You understand? And then the part that you said about learning from these different things, don't do that. The Bible said the Bible. Well, stop. You should stop right now. But the Bible said that's weariness of flesh. You'll be learning and never able to come to the truth because you're too busy trying to learn everything. You got to ground yourself.
I was told that.
Okay, well, I'm gonna tell you again. All right, who else? Wait, before I come back to you.
You can let her go. You can let her
Okay, no sweat. Good. It's Black Woman Day, right? Because that's what we are. Yeah. When you read First Maccabees 3:48, it said that young men wore warlike apparel. And that's where we are. And black women need to see strong black men. You see the opposite, Oh, we carry the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha is the gap between the Old Testament and the New Testament. That's where you get the Feast of Dedication. That's where you get Maccabees. That's where you hear about Alexander the so-called Great. You got Ecclesiasticus, Ezra. So the Apocrypha is the gap in between. And that was one of the things the Roman Catholic Church was fighting King James on. That's why the word Apocrypha means hidden. Because King James was battling over that because they wanted that to be in there. Okay? Anybody, brother?
First I want to say, thanks for all the information and stuff I learned from y'all. But I
speak up a little bit.
And I got left like a trumpet, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of young females I've met now, they'll say stuff like, they'll date a woman, they'll date a man, they'll date a bisexual, quote unquote man, but they will not do polygamy or multiple wives thing, which baffles me because if you're dating a man that likes men, why wouldn't you try that? So like, what's your how do you teach them that that's not wrong?
That's what we teach every day on the streets and in class. And then you'll be able to teach that. And that's just what America gives. America has taught, like when we talking about monogamy, which is in essence what we're talking about, because even whether they're dealing with whatever sex, they only want one-on-one, is what you're saying, right? Monogamy is something that was created by the white man. There's no other culture that ever taught monogamy. That's not an Israelite culture. That's a white man's culture of monogamy. And so really you're just battling this world. So you just have to battle it like that. I would recommend, where you from?
Well, you took like my
you.
Oh yeah, no, I mean like what you mean, my tribe.
Where you live at right now?
Oh, I live in the 90s.
Come to class.
I came a couple like last month and y'all was wrapping up the
okay.
corner.
Right.
So, but when's the classes?
I'll let you know after class.
All right.
I'm after this here.
The classes are open?
Say again?
The New York classes is
It'll
open.
be open soon. I know you.
No, you know.
Anybody else have a question? Sis on the back.
Thank you for this lecture. It's very productive.
Thank you.
When you talk about women needing to be discreet, unfortunately, the people that probably need to hear it are probably not here. Unfortunately, I was hoping to see a lot more sisters here, and I'm a bit dismayed that they aren't here. I mean, most of the sisters are here. I can feel their vibe. They probably know this already, but women should really practice hard in being discreet with their clothing, because showing your breasts in the street is not appealing.
Right.
And it's just, I don't think
But
a
that's
lot
why
of
we'll do more.
yeah,
Like, it's more, and then we'll
and you're
promotion to
showing
get
your stomach in the street, exposing your body all over the street like that. And then they wonder why the men don't stay. It's
right.
like,
Not only don't stay, but they wonder why the men talk to them in a certain manner.
yeah,
Like I remember Dave Chappelle had made a joke, but he was telling the truth. He said he saw this woman and she had her breast out, like puffed out. He was like, "Damn, look at them titties." I'm saying it like he said it. I don't normally talk like that. So he said. So the woman was like, "Just because I'm dressed this way don't mean you have a right to talk to me that way." And Dave Chappelle said, "Well, you got to understand that's confusing. It's like if I walk out in a cop's uniform, people are going to expect me to uphold the law. So we have to be mindful of the way we dress. You understand? But we'll keep pushing it."
yeah. The other thing is, and this brother talked about it. I was hoping, since we were talking about women, that you would have touched base a lot more on the issues of polygamy. I'm from a polygamous household. I'm a second wife, and that was very hard for people who knows me.
I did that already, sis, in October.
I was talking about this class.
Yeah, your man lecture.
I was talking about this class.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
This class for women.
Oh, okay, I got it.
It's usually the women who have challenges with polygamy.
Right.
Not necessarily the men. The men may have challenges with how to go about managing and handling that issue, but it's usually the women who have problems with even accepting it.
Okay, well, when I speak on it again, I'll make sure I add that into it. I'm pretty good at it, so I'll make sure I add that subject to it. Okay? Anybody else? All right, with that, I'd like to thank y'all for coming out. We have a lecture. Let me see yours. I don't know if y'all in Syracuse, but we got a lecture coming up April 1st at the Beach and Branch Library, 2111 Salina Street, Syracuse, New York. Officer Zanaya. We'll be doing it on drugs, the American tool to destroy black people. That'll be a lecture coming up. Thank you for coming out. Bless you, all the sisters. What's your name again, sis? Mayana Household Correct. And what radio show you got?
We do Debate Talk for You, the relationship challenge.
Right, Debate Talk for You. I want to thank her for coming out. My mama came out. This is my first time she has been. I thank my husband Larry for making sure. I think that's it. So I'd like to thank y'all for coming out. God bless. Good night.
They think I'm playing on this track, right?